11 minutes past 8 now. Let's return to our main story. The government has issued a series of travel bans over concerns about a new coronavirus variant which first emerged in Brazil.
So let's take you through some of the details of the new announcement, the current situation from this morning. It was 4 a.m. actually. Travellers from 13 South American countries, that's including Brazil, Argentina and Chile, have been banned from entering the UK. That ban also applies to Portugal, which has strong travel links with Brazil, as well as the islands of the Azores. However, lorry drivers from Portugal will be allowed in.
Now, the islands of Cape Verde off the coast of West Africa are also included in the ban. The new restrictions do not apply to British citizens or residents, although they must isolate for 10 days on arrival back in the UK. What should we know about this new Brazilian variant? Let's ask epidemiologist Dr. Mike Tilsley.
How significant the mutation is. I mean, my understanding is, and I'm not a vaccinologist, I will say, but my understanding is it's significantly easier to redevelop a new vaccine once you've developed one in the first place. So given that we have a vaccine for the coronavirus now, if we do need to redevelop, it should only take weeks rather than months to redevelop a vaccine that's protective against whatever variant may be circulating.
Well, that will offer some comfort, certainly. Dr. Mike Tilsley, it's always good to talk to you. Epidemiologist, thanks for answering those questions.
Thank you.
So let's pick up a little more on some of those travel implications, the bans that have come in today, joined by Simon Calder, the travel editor at The Independent. Simon, very good morning to you. So, I mean, overriding all these conversations, of course, is the government. The rules at the moment say stay at home. That's the broad principle upon what everything is working at the moment. But within that, we know today these new measures came in relating to South American flights and flights from Portugal. I mean, the Transport Secretary was adamant this morning there are literally no flights coming in from Latin America and none from Portugal today into the UK at all. Is that right? Is it 4 a.m.? There are none.
Yes, there's a few things we need to clear up. I was very interested to watch the Transport Secretary about 45 minutes ago. So the very last flight from the UK to Portugal that's going to depart in the foreseeable future left Heathrow Airport a couple of minutes ago. It was a TAP Portugal flight to Porto, the northern city. And earlier on this morning, we also had a flight out to Lisbon. They were allowed to go, those planes, overnight in London, and they flew back normally. It's arrivals that are going to be the issue now. And of course, it is absolutely dramatic news, unprecedented, that an entire continent, South America, plus Panama, of course, and Cape Verde, have been put on the no-fly list. But actually, in terms of numbers, we're talking, I would say, hundreds, maybe low thousands of people affected. By far, the most important implication is Portugal, because, of course, even though, as you rightly say, Charlie, none of us is supposed to travel for leisure further than we can walk from our front door, there are people who are there perhaps at the end of long winter holidays in Portugal, people who have residence in the UK but have had a holiday home there, whatever. They will be wanting to get back, and that from today onwards becomes impossible direct. And of course, from the travel industry's point of view, to have an indefinite ban applying to one of our absolutely favourite countries, Portugal, is very serious indeed. But just to clarify, it's not a travel ban, it's a flight ban. People, as you've been saying, who live in the UK, in the Republic of Ireland, will be able to return home.
Yeah. Now, Simon, do you want to pick up on what changes next week? This is the point at which you cannot, as the Transport Secretary detailed this morning, you cannot get on a plane, for example, to come to the UK unless you show at the desk as you're checking in you're negative. You then have to quarantine if you do get here. Is that a workable system to rely on the carriers to, if you like, govern how this is going to work?
Well, it's what an awful lot of other countries have been doing for quite some time. And it's actually what the airline industry has been calling for since last April. They basically just said, we don't want quarantine. We don't want people to have to go and self-isolate for 10 days when they come back. We are quite prepared, though, to have tests before travel, so you can do everything you possibly can to make sure that people boarding flights as well as trains and ferries to the UK are not carrying the virus. Now, yes, there have been most certainly teething problems. I mean, this was due to come into effect at 4 a.m. this morning, but by Wednesday night, it was clear that the government hadn't quite sorted everything out. You had people in Singapore just hours away from checking in, and they didn't even know what sort of certificate was applicable. Yes, we are going to get a couple of things. First of all, I dare say people will be turned away from foreign airports because they don't have the right tests. And similarly, you might well also get people coming to the UK who've kind of slipped in without the appropriate test. But it is going to be something which will have, I think, a very significant effect, because unlike quarantine, which is largely unpoliced in this country, you will find that people are simply not allowed to travel. Huge burden on the airlines, of course. If they get it wrong, well, it's not only the traveller who faces a fine of £500, the airline faces a fine of several times that.
OK, so I'll leave it there for now. Always good to catch up with you. Thank you very much, and we will watch with interest how that unfolds beginning of next week as well. It is worth reiterating what Simon said there, that notwithstanding the negative positive test to allow you to travel in the first place, the quarantine regulations do remain in place as they were. So that does not change.
22 minutes past 8.